Hey there, I'm John,
And I'm Josh.
and we are talking 2022 college football. We are up to week 12, but let's start off with week 11's upsets that you were picking.
Yeah.
Your first one?
Yeah, we can start off with the negative here.
Yeah, that's negative.
For some reason, I really thought Maryland had a chance against Penn State. Not even close.
What's
Goose
up with
egg.
Talia?
Yeah, I know. Goose egg for Maryland. Penn State drops 30-0. Not even honestly worth sticking here to talk about because it was just a domination from the start to the finish. Penn State's had a relatively successful season so far this year, so no surprise there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Next, number 22 UCF at number 17 Tulane.
And they did it.
Yeah, this game turned out to be as good as projected, right?
Yeah.
UCF actually went out to a pretty big lead at the beginning, and Tulane kind of had to build their way back.
But not
7
enough.
points, right? Yeah, it just wasn't enough. Tulane will get another chance against Cincinnati later on in the season. But for now, number 22 UCF, at least at that point they were number 22, survives to now be, I believe, the top-ranked team of Group of 5.
Yeah.
So right now they're the ones fighting for the automatic bid for a playoff, not playoff, but a New Year's Eve bowl. Yeah, in the Group of 6. Cincinnati, obviously, UCF and Cincinnati will have to play eventually to kind of determine that, but UCF, good for them, man.
And all that being said, Tulane has had a great season.
Tulane is still in it as well. If they beat Cincinnati later on in the season, it's pretty much has come down to the American Conference, and whoever wins that conference will, for sure, they'll have the best opportunity.
Okay, so week 12, as we go into this, number 1 Georgia is going to be at number nothing Kentucky. Kentucky. Okay. Georgia demolished Mississippi State.
Yeah,
they took care of business for sure. Just every which way they won that game. Kentucky lost to Vandy. Vandy had gone 26 straight SEC losses up to this point.
And by the way, this was a Kentucky that was ranked relatively high earlier on in the season.
Sort of like Texas A&M, ranked number 6, and they're just gone.
The difference between A&M has like all 5-star recruits.
They do.
Kentucky doesn't.
Yeah. No.
That being said, Georgia's just gonna, it's just gonna be a bloodbath.
This is gonna be so ugly.
Yeah, it'll be a typical Georgia domination.
It will. It will.
Not a chance.
Nope.
Sorry, Kentucky.
None. Number 2, Ohio State's gonna be at Maryland. Speaking of no chance,
maybe if Maryland had like at least semi competed against Penn State or something, you would be like, oh, this is an interesting game. But the fact that Penn State beat them that badly, Ohio State's probably just this is gonna be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Right. Honestly, it's going to be interesting for me to see. It's another one of those games of can Maryland score?
Oh, absolutely.
Can they get any points?
They didn't last time, and that was against a lesser team than Ohio State. So
if Stroud isn't benched by halftime because of a dominant score, I'll be shocked.
Yeah. Then you have Illinois. They're going to be at number 3, Michigan. Illinois had 2 straight losses. They've had a decent season, but they were doing well. 2 straight losses now.
Yeah.
And then Michigan, their best win was against Penn State.
Yeah, something worth mentioning. This is pretty much 2 tune-up games for Ohio State and Michigan before they face each other.
Good point.
So I don't care how good your coach is. All they're thinking about is their matchup against each other.
But it's preparation for that one. Let's let's take care of
business
here.
Keep players healthy.
That's right.
Don't push anything. You're probably gonna see some in my mind. Well, Michigan always plays Little Bland in my mind, but I doubt Ohio State's gonna do anything fancy. It's just gonna be get in there, win the game, get out, and prepare for Michigan.
That's right.
Yeah, or vice versa.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Then you got number 4 TCU. They're gonna be at a 6-4 Baylor.
The most disrespected undefeated team by far. It's not even close, right? People will try to argue that TCU, even though they're undefeated, doesn't deserve to be in the top 4.
That Tennessee should be there, or somebody else should be there.
Here's my thing. I don't think the Big 12 is that bad. I think they kind of self-imploded on themselves. But to me, that doesn't necessarily make a conference poor. It's just because they're competitive with each other. Mm-hmm. If anything, for once, I think they might be the most even across-the-board conference because even their bad teams, Oklahoma, Texas, can beat almost anybody.
Okay.
We saw that when Texas played Alabama, right? Sure. These teams can beat almost anybody, even if they're struggling a little bit. So I don't know. I really like TCU. I like having a new face in the top 4. Okay. I like having the excitement of just maybe I can watch a team in the playoffs that isn't a team that's been there 100 times. at Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Clemson. Right? So I'm all for TCU. So at this point, I don't know if they're going to go undefeated. I don't know if they can handle it and handle all this pressure.
And it's a great question.
I'm hoping that they beat Taylor.
It's a great question. But let me just throw a scenario in there.
Yeah.
Let's say you have TCU who's undefeated. Let's just throw in, what if they played 2-loss Alabama? What would happen?
See, a lot of people, that's kind of the general theme. Like, what will happen?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, TCU beat a team that Alabama beat by 1 point, right? And that was with Ewers back at quarterback, and they beat them by 7. And honestly, the defense of TCU looked better. So, like, if you're looking at matchups, like, in my mind, TCU competes.
Okay.
I mean, against Georgia, maybe not. But I don't think anyone necessarily competes against them. Like, I do think Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan are on a different level than TCU. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. But below
Georgia's
that,
sort of by themselves.
Yeah. But below that, I'm like, I don't know. I don't see how you can argue that TCU doesn't deserve that number 4 spot.
All right. Fair.
Yeah.
Then you have number 14, Ole Miss. They're going to be playing a 5-5 Arkansas.
Yeah, they're actually barely favored in this game, which is confusing to me. Because Arkansas they kind of stuttered now. They're just like they had all this momentum going on in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of not doing much anymore.
Yes.
Ole Miss's only losses to Bama and LSU.
That's right. That's right.
Solid team.
And think about it. They played, both LSU, they got beat pretty soundly.
Yeah, but Bama, they competed the entire game.
Bama, they competed, and it was close right there at the end. They had a chance to win it, but they couldn't.
Excuse me.
So, they couldn't put it away, but you're right. I think they'll win this one solidly against Arkansas, though.
Oh, I agree. This is pretty much, as far as the week goes, not a huge week of college football.
It's not.
Besides for the Pac-12, right? Pac-12 has some pretty big games, even though they self-imploded last week.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of Pac-12.
See what happens.
All right, you got number 7 USC. They're going to be at number 16 UCLA.
Yeah, so USC is the only team, by the way, in the Pac-12 that pretty much has any chance of making it to the playoffs.
That's right.
At all, period.
Yes, USC's only loss is to...
I predicted this one, I feel like.
Utah.
It was, and I said that I think that was an upset that I got. Yeah. Yeah, so...
And then UCLA lost horribly last week to Arizona.
Which, by the way,
Arizona's terrible, too.
Yeah, they're not great.
So I would expect USC to win this one pretty handily.
Yeah, I think USC wins as well. They keep their little streak going here.
Yep. And which means there's sort of that contention as far as Pac-12. If they win out and they win the Pac-12, does that mean they should be in? I mean, TCU, it's really tough here figuring this out.
Sorry, we're going back to TCU for a second. If TCU wins out, no one's going above them.
Okay.
Right? If TCU goes undefeated, I don't care what the argument is. There's a 0% chance that TCU doesn't make it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
The better question would be, let's say TCU makes it to the Big 12 championship and loses to a top-ranked
whoever
team.
they're in.
And then USC goes and wins their conference.
Yeah.
So 1 loss USC now versus 1 loss TCU. That's when things get spicy.
Yes.
So I guess we'll see what happens.
That's right. Then you have number 10 Utah, and they're going to be at number 12 Oregon. Okay. Utah's lost the first game of the season was against Florida, and they lost a pretty close game. And their ugly loss, in my opinion, is to UCLA.
I mean, realistically speaking, their ugly loss is probably to Florida, but it's kind of easier to overlook a first game loss because it's like,
I know,
at that point, everyone was like, "Oh, Richardson at Florida's a Heisman candidate quarterback. He's incredible. Florida's going to do amazing things." Yeah. Clearly, they aren't. I don't know. UCLA, I don't think they're necessarily a bad team per se. Obviously, they're still ranked, right?
Yeah.
They're still considered a top 25 team. So
that's right.
In my mind, it is Florida who's the worst loss. But Utah at Oregon, this is a big game.
It is.
This is a big game.
It is. Of course, Oregon just came off that loss to Washington. Washington,
who, by the way, doesn't look bad, right? Washington's ranked now, so it's not like that's not like a disgusting loss on Oregon's part.
That's right. That's right.
Whew. I think Bo Nix bounces back, and I think Oregon.
This is an intriguing game,
especially
it's not
home.
A late game, is it? It's a late
game. Pac-12. It's always going to be.
I
late.
know. It's like
the earliest Pac-12 game is like 6 at the earliest because of West Coast. I think Oregon wins. I think Bo Nix bounces back. I think Oregon wins this game. I'm not sure what the line is. Yeah, I actually am not either. I think the Pac-12 is going to look real messy coming towards the end of this season.
It's already pretty messy.
Yeah.
Okay, then you have we want to bring up Boise State at Wyoming because this is a big game.
Yeah, both teams 6-3.
Yeah. And they're on the same side of the Mountain West.
Yeah. So whoever wins this game If
Fresno?
Boise wins, we're automatically in the conference championship game no matter what.
Yeah.
And we're automatically hosting no matter what.
Okay.
If Wyoming wins, Wyoming has to lose their following week, and Boise has to win their following week.
To be in it.
It's a little confusing. To be in it, yes.
Yeah.
So essentially, if Boise wins this, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Huge game.
It is.
Boise just came off a dominant win against Nevada last week. I mean, dominant win. I think it was 40-3 or something like that. Snow game, which I think is an advantage to us because we're probably going to be in another similar weather scenario as Nevada and Wyoming, right? It's going to be cold. Could easily be snowing. It could be a blizzard for all you know up there at this time of year. So the question is, which team? I guess I don't even know. Like looking at the matchup and everything, both teams kind of match up well against each other. Boise's offense has been substantially more explosive now in the second half of the season with Green and Halani just popping off lately. But Wyoming has a decent defense. They've played well, especially against Mountain West teams. Yeah. So for me, it really is going to come down to, I'm guessing second half adjustments. I'd have to imagine it's going to be a close game going into the second half. So just which coach comes out and does better.
This is intriguing.
Andy, this is a good opportunity for Andy Avalos to kind of just at least push himself away from Mountain West competition, right? Boise hasn't lost a Mountain West game this year.
No, they haven't.
It's a good look. It needs to continue here, especially a disappointing beginning of the season. But if we go undefeated Mountain West and win the conference championship, that's a win in my book.
That is a big win.
Especially after the beginning of the season. I thought we'd be 3-6 at this point.
All right, week 12. It's pretty tough to pick those upsets this week.
I like to keep my upsets within like top 25 teams just because otherwise it's not as interesting to me. But I really don't have much faith in this first one at all. I mean, like zero faith, to be honest. But I'm going to go number 5 Tennessee at South Carolina. Rattler, please. I know South Carolina just got blown out by a Florida team that I said isn't good. But it's college football.
It is.
I don't think Beamer's a bad coach.
No, I don't think so. But, but he's had a tough season.
Hear me out. South Carolina, all y'all should have done this entire week is just watched Georgia film. And what they did against Tennessee, it worked.
You do it.
If that means you have to go out there and pay 5-star recruits to come and play for you real quick, just to win this game, so be it. But like, give me something here. At least keep it close, so next week I don't have to come back and be like, I'm an idiot. Just keep it close, okay? All right. We'll see what happens. It's at home too, right?
That's right. That's right. So next one.
Yeah. So the Bedlam rivalry apparently started in wrestling. Just learned that, and apparently Oklahoma State dominates that rivalry.
Hey, there we go.
So at least they dominate something against Oklahoma.
But that's not who you're cheering for.
No,
that's not who you're picking.
Oklahoma State, number 22 at 5-5. Oklahoma is not favored to win. 5-5.
That's ridiculous.
Like, and I get it because like Oklahoma, when they play perfectly, is no doubt in my mind a top 25 team.
Yeah.
And they have to be. The amount of recruits that teams like Oklahoma can get, like, it's honestly embarrassing to not be a top 25 team. The fact that they've lost 5 times is kind of like, what you doing, right?
Yeah.
Venable, you might be gone. Who
and
knows?
Oklahoma
like,
State
you better
has
pick
some
things
ugly
up.
losses this year.
They have,
so.
And like Kansas State.
Yeah, like that one.
Woo! So Oklahoma State was one of those teams that was like doing really well until that Kansas State game pretty much was just
came off the rails.
I think Oklahoma State keeps their rank and beats 5-5 Oklahoma. I'm not covering the spread. I'm saying they win. I'm saying they win. So Oklahoma favored by 7. I'm saying Oklahoma State wins by 7.
Okay.
Which I guess does mean they cover the spread. But still, I guess we'll see what happens. Rivalry games to me are always fascinating. So I don't care which team is necessarily favored. Like, it can go either way.
It could.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's our Week 12 predictions. Join us when we talk about Week 13 and the results.
Go Broncos.